The ballroom of the Grand Meridian glittered like a suspended constellation, each crystal in the chandeliers scattering light across marble floors polished to a mirror sheen. Waiters moved with rehearsed precision, silver trays balanced effortlessly as they offered flutes of champagne that caught the gold glow of the room. A string quartet performed near the staircase, their music elegant and restrained, like the guests themselves. Daniel Armand paused just inside the entrance. He had built a multinational empire before turning 40. Financial magazines called him visionary. Competitors called him ruthless. The press called him the self-made king of modern industry. None of those titles unsettled him. But this room did. Across the ballroom stood Vivienne Laurent. Poised beneath the sweeping curve of the staircase, she looked untouchable in a silver satin gown that seemed poured onto her frame. Diamonds shimmered at her throat. Her posture was effortless, regal, the kind that came from generations of old money and etiquette tutors. Tonight was her night. The Laurent Foundation's elite gala marked its international expansion, drawing diplomats, CEOs, media personalities, and aristocrats from across Europe. Every arrangement, every candle, every violin note had her signature precision. Daniel adjusted his cufflinks. "Sir," came a quiet voice beside him. "Are you certain this is appropriate?" He turned. Mira stood half a step behind him, as if instinctively trying to reduce her presence. Just 3 weeks ago, she had been cleaning the executive floor of Armand Global headquarters long after employees had gone home. He had noticed her because she worked silently, efficiently, without seeking acknowledgement. She wore the same oversized gray uniform each evening, hair braided tightly, eyes lowered. Tonight, she was transformed, but not in the way the guests assumed. Her gown was simple navy lace, long-sleeved and modest, skimming her frame with understated elegance. Her dark hair fell in loose waves, framing a face that carried both softness and quiet strength. She wore no diamonds, only a thin silver bracelet and calm composure. "You belong here as much as anyone," Daniel replied. She gave a faint, uncertain smile. "I polish floors, Mr. Armand." "Daniel," he corrected gently. "And tonight, you're my guest." He offered his arm. After a second's hesitation, she placed her hand lightly against his sleeve. The effect was immediate. Whispers moved faster than the music. "Is that the CEO? Who is she?" "She's not from any of the foundations." Vivienne noticed them within seconds. Of course she did. Her social awareness had always been razor-sharp. She approached with a practiced smile, photographers trailing discreetly at a distance. "Daniel," she said warmly, leaning in for a light air kiss near his cheek. "I wasn't sure you would come." Her gaze slid to Mira. It lingered, assessing the cut of the dress, the lack of jewels, the subtle nervousness in her stance. "And you brought a guest. How refreshing." "This is Mira," Daniel said evenly. Vivienne extended her hand. "I'm so pleased you could join us. We cherish inclusivity at the Laurent Foundation." A nearby cluster of socialites exchanged knowing glances. Mira shook her hand. "Thank you for having me." Vivienne's smile sharpened almost imperceptibly. "Please, do enjoy the evening. If the menu seems unfamiliar, I'm sure our staff can assist." Daniel stiffened, but Mira's grip on his arm tightened slightly, as if asking him not to react. Vivienne drifted away in a shimmer of silver. "I can leave," Mira murmured once they were alone. Daniel studied her face. There was embarrassment there. Yes, but not defeat. "No," he said quietly. "We stay." They moved deeper into the ballroom. Investors greeted Daniel with polished courtesy, though their eyes flickered curiously toward Mira. A few nodded at her. Most did not. Conversations dimmed as they passed, then resumed in hushed tones. Mira remained composed. She asked thoughtful questions about art pieces displayed near the gallery wall. She listened more than she spoke. She carried herself with an understated dignity that made the whispers feel increasingly crude. Daniel found himself watching her more than the room. Halfway through dinner, crystal glasses chimed as Vivienne rose from her seat. "My dear friends," she began, voice melodic and perfectly projected. "As you know, the Laurent Foundation has always supported the arts. Tonight we were to feature a special piano performance." Polite applause fluttered. "Unfortunately, our scheduled pianist has taken ill." A ripple of disappointment moved through the crowd. Vivienne paused, then tilted her head slightly toward Daniel's table. Perhaps someone among us would be brave enough to fill the silence. Or perhaps, her gaze rested deliberately on Mira. Your companion has hidden talents, Daniel. Laughter. Light. Pointed. Daniel's jaw tightened. Vivian. But Mira gently removed her hand from his sleeve. Where is the piano? She asked softly. The room quieted. Vivian blinked. On the stage, of course. Without another word, Mira rose. Her heels echoed against marble as she walked toward the grand piano positioned beneath a cascade of white orchids. Each step seemed louder than the last. The weight of 200 skeptical stares pressed against her shoulders. Daniel's pulse quickened. He hadn't known. He hadn't thought to ask about her life beyond the office corridors. Mira sat at the piano bench. For a moment, she simply rested her hands in her lap. Her breathing slowed. The ballroom air felt thick, but beneath it, something steadier pulsed. Memory. Discipline. Years of practice before dawn. Her fingers lifted and settled onto the keys. The first notes were delicate, so soft they nearly dissolved beneath lingering whispers. Then the melody shifted, clear, intentional, expansive. Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. It wasn't a simple Gala piece. It was intricate, technically demanding, emotionally layered. The kind of composition that required more than talent, it required devotion. Her hands moved with fluid confidence, crossing and returning with precise grace. The music swelled, filling every corner of the ballroom, climbing the staircase, brushing the chandeliers with sound. Daniel stared, stunned. This was not luck, not a hobby. This was mastery. A crescendo built like a rising storm, then broke into a cascade of luminous chords that sent visible shivers through the audience. An elderly gentleman near the front leaned forward, eyes wide with recognition. Vivian's champagne glass hovered forgotten in her hand. Myra's expression remained calm, not performative, not defiant. She was no longer in the ballroom. She was somewhere deeper, somewhere sacred. When she reached the final passage, the music softened into something almost fragile, like a farewell whispered into night. The last note lingered, trembling in the air before fading into complete stillness. Silence. For one breath. Then the room erupted. Applause thundered through the ballroom, not polite but involuntary. Guests rose to their feet. Some exchanged astonished glances. Others simply clapped harder, as if to reconcile what they had just witnessed with what they had assumed minutes earlier. Mira stood slowly. She did not bow theatrically. She offered a small nod and stepped away from the bench. The elderly gentleman approached with the help of a silver cane. His voice trembled. Where did you study? Mira met his gaze, and recognition dawned in both faces. Professor Moreau, she said softly. A collective gasp rippled outward. You were my finest student, he breathed. Vienna Conservatory. You vanished. My mother became ill, Mira replied gently. I came home. Professor Moreau turned to the crowd, eyes blazing. This young woman was the most gifted pianist I taught in 40 years. The weight of those words shifted the entire room. Vivian's smile faltered. But she's a cleaner, Mira finished, calm and steady. Yes, she continued before anyone could interrupt. I clean offices at Armand Global. I needed flexible hours to care for my mother. Music does not disappear because circumstances change. The statement was not defensive. It was truth. The applause resumed, quieter now, more reverent. Daniel stepped forward, his chest tight with something unfamiliar. He had brought her tonight thinking he was making a statement. He realized now how small that assumption had been. You never told me, he said softly once the crowd began to disperse around them. You never asked, she replied, though there was no accusation in her tone. Investors gathered nearby, suddenly eager. Would you consider performing at our charity auction? Our foundation sponsors international tours. We'd be honored. Mira listened politely, but her gaze drifted to Daniel. Why did you bring me? She asked quietly. He glanced around the glittering ballroom, the chandeliers, the diamonds, the careful hierarchies that once defined his world. I thought I needed to prove something, he admitted. To her, to everyone. And now, he met her eyes. I don't. Across the room, Vivian stood very still, silver gown shimmering but suddenly diminished. For the first time that evening, she looked uncertain, not because she had been outperformed, but because the power she wielded so effortlessly had failed. Daniel offered Mira his arm once more. This time, When she placed her hand in the crook of his elbow, there was no hesitation at all. As they walked toward the exit, the applause rose again, not orchestrated, not polite. Earned. In a ballroom built on lineage and wealth, a shy cleaner had commanded silence, then awe, with nothing but skill and quiet dignity. Daniel stepped into the cool night air beside her, city lights stretching endlessly before them. He had entered the gala carrying pride and unfinished wounds. He left carrying something far rarer: respect, and the unmistakable understanding that the most powerful presence in any room is not the one dressed in diamonds, but the one who never needed them.